Hello everyone, I'm OCDsaster, and this is OCDsaster Blue, my Sonic exclusive channel where everything we do here is Sonic related. So if that sounds like something your speed, consider subscribing and checking out some other videos after this one. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some updates with the Paramount and Warner Brothers selling merger deal. And if you're wondering what that has to do with Sonic, well, Paramount is the owner of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise. Essentially, David Ellison is the CEO of Paramount, and he is desperate to get Warner Brothers, which is being run by Zaslav. Essentially, Zaslav made a very stupid decision in my opinion, and has put Warner Brothers up for potential sale, meaning if the bidder comes in with a high enough number, then they would consider merging the companies. I don't like this. I think this causes a monopoly issue within the movie industry, which is already happening. Disney already owns so much of movie studios, and by combining two of these other major studios together, it's really just going to be Disney and then Paramount, Warner Brothers, and the rest are just going to be like indie studios that get bought out, and we're really only going to have like two big studios by the end of the day, and it's going to suck. So I already just disagree with the selling of Warner Brothers in general, but I have no stake in the game. I'm not a shareholder. I'm not a business person. So Zaslav is just doing what he does and making more money for the company and therefore himself. And that's what's happening. And at the very beginning of this timeline, it looked like Netflix was going to get it. And I was really concerned because Netflix is all about data. They've said previously that they did not want to go into the movie making business. But then after a while, once this deal looked like it was going to close with Netflix and Warner Brothers, and they were starting to share more ideas about the future, the CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, or co-CEO, was talking about how the reason why they would acquire Warner Brothers is they wanted to get into the movie theater business now, but that meant that they would already have a distribution with Warner Brothers, so Warner Brothers wouldn't be dismantled, there wouldn't be a overlap of jobs, people wouldn't lose their jobs because Netflix doesn't have a movie division, so they would just keep everyone at Warner Brothers. They would just own it. It would be like Warner Brothers, a Netflix company or something like that. So although not great, I think that would have been an okay option as long as they didn't just look at data instead of the trends for movies, and they just kept letting Warner Brothers do what they're doing, because Warner Brothers has been knocking it out of the park with a lot of their movies, Supergirl excluded. They've been doing really good with not just IP and big franchise staples, but they're doing well with some of the smaller indie stuff as well. So if they would just let them do what they're doing, I still wouldn't like that Netflix owned them, but that's a better situation than with Paramount. But fast forwarding, Paramount was not very happy with this. They were like the jealous incel on the side that it was just like, I'm the nice guy, I want to be courted, I want a chance in this race. So they were huffing and puffing, they were threatening lawsuits, I believe. They were just saying that like it's not fair, Netflix has a terrible deal, we'll do a bigger deal, and there was a lot of that for a couple of months, and legally Warner Brothers had to entertain all offers and all deals, and it ended up being that Paramount was offering more than what Netflix was comfortable giving, so Netflix did a breakup fee and left, and so that just left Paramount wanting to merge and buy out Warner Brothers. The reason why I hate this so much, and I'm going to stay away from more of the political stuff because there is a part of this where it is Larry Ellison, who is the daddy of David Ellison, who's the CEO of Paramount. He's really big into Trump, and he has a ton of money, even though Oracle, his company, is failing right now, and David Ellison is pretty much a nepo baby that's just trying to get whatever he wants. And they do want to acquire all of the Warner Brothers property, whatever you want to call it, assets, so that means that they would acquire CNN, I believe, which would be bad for just media in general, whether it's like political or not. Actually, it's just bad to have a centralized news source and everything's coming out of one source that has only one agenda. That's not good for the American people. So even if it wasn't Trump, even if it was just anybody, like even if it was the other way around, if we had a Democratic president and they were trying to do that, I would still also not like it. But it just doesn't bode well because Larry Ellison is friends with Trump. Trump likes to break the rules. I think they have a lot of baggage and think that, like, because they're close friends with the president, that this deal will go through. I don't know. That's all. I want to talk about it from the political side. I'm going to move back to the other issues with this deal going through. Paramount is a movie company, whereas Netflix is not. So there would be overlap. People would lose thousands upon thousands of jobs. They would probably get rid of a lot of the Warner Brothers people over the Paramount people. Paramount is not doing well right now. They are considered a junk status when it comes to being a public traded company, meaning that they are bad with money. They are not doing well with money. They are in the millions of billions, stuck in debt, and they're continuing to accrue debt the longer this deal goes on, which we'll get into in a minute. But they're also borrowing a lot of money from places outside of the US, let's just put it that way. And so there's a big stake in that as well, and there's a big influence there as well. I've kind of talked all about this timeline in previous Paramount videos here on the channel, so if you're curious about that, you can just type in OCDsaster and then Paramount and you'll see those. But there's been a lot that's happened since I've done those videos. Essentially, Paramount has to be done with this deal by June 4th. By June 4th, if the deal isn't settled and there isn't a negotiation or thing that the Warner Brothers people, David Zaslav and folks like, then they have the option to cancel the deal if it actually has a lot of evidence to cancel it, right? Because David Zaslav has to appeal to shareholders, and the shareholders are the ones that are getting the money from these deals as well. And if it's not a good value for the shareholders and there's evidence for that, then the deal can fall through. I forgot to mention that previously Zaslav did put out a memo to his staff saying that they're not really worried about this deal and that they don't think it'll go through. So that's very interesting. But if Paramount does not get this deal signed by June 4th of next year, then they have to sign a $7 billion breakup fee with Warner Brothers. And there's also some other stuff where Zaslav's going to be making a bunch of money if the deal goes through or doesn't go through. So he's a winner in all of this. But that is a thing to mention here. There is a timeline if they don't get the deal done. And this was also a legal document stipulated by Paramount. Paramount agreed to this deal because they were so confident that this would get done. But there's been a few snags, and those few snags are lawsuits. There's several lawsuits happening right now that are going on with Paramount and this Warner Brothers merger. A bunch of states have come together to file a lawsuit about the monopoly of it all, and that it's too many things that Paramount would be controlling. And I can't remember exactly what states there were, but a judge did actually pass the first whatever part of it, saying like he would look into it and that they would have to delay the Paramount deal until this is resolved and settled. And what that means is Paramount has the time to go in and compromise with these states and make some, different changes, whether it's, oh, you get this studio but you can't get CNN, or oh, you have to trade off Comcast or whatever cable networks attached to it. That's still to be disclosed, but they have a chance to sit down with the states and figure something out. And if that gets settled, then they can move forward with the deal and meet that June 4th deadline. But if they can't get that settled, it's going to stall and it's going to delay this thing out. But there's also another lawsuit, and it's the reverse. It's from the WGA, the Guild of America, the Writers Association or Guild of America. And they are the people that, are the writers for movies, TV, and stuff like that. And their argument is the opposite of a monopoly, where a monopoly is one corporation is selling all of the product, so they get all of the money. Monopoly, I believe is what it's called, is when there's so much of a product that they can just pick and choose who they want to do things. So the Writers Guild of America is stating that if you condense all these studios down, there's going to be way less jobs for the writers, because when you think about it, there's a lot of actors out there, right? But there's a lot of roles. You can do extras, you have the opportunity there. But writers, not everyone is writing shows. There's a limited amount of shows and movies and everything like that going on already, and if you condense these studios down and make less content, then there's going to be less jobs for the writers. So that's what their argument is. So you have that lawsuit going on as well. On top of that, you have a lawsuit with a shareholder of, I believe it's Warner Brothers, stating that they believe that Paramount is acting in bad faith. It might even actually be, now that I think about it, a Paramount shareholder is saying this, where they're alleging that the Ellisons are using, allegedly, this is all alleged, connections with the White House to go and break down some of the barriers for getting this deal done. So that's going on as well. There's also some UK and Europe-based lawsuits going on with this acquisition as well, but that's not as impactful as the ones that I listed before. And the reason they're so important is they could delay up this process. And the longer this delay gets pushed out, the more the judges allow for these things to go. They have to pause any negotiations to get this done. And if it hits that deadline of next year, of June 4th next year, and the ink isn't dry, then they can back out. Warner Brothers can back out of the deal, and Paramount is left with nothing. And even less so because they are giving $7 billion away for a breakup fee. And on top of that, they're drowning in debt as is, so that's accumulating. And I believe there's something where they have to pay a certain amount of millions a month that the deal isn't closed. That is something that they assured the shareholders that would happen, so they're costing everyone so much money. And now you might be wondering, what does this have to do with Sonic the Hedgehog? And if you made it all the way to this part of the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. The wait is over. The Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise has been a really good thing for Paramount. It doesn't bring in the billions of dollars, but accumulatively between all three movies, it has made $1 billion. Paramount's slate is not good, especially for this upcoming year. They don't have a lot of movies or projects in the pipeline, but they do have significant IP that they're not focusing on. Instead, they're focusing on acquiring Warner Brothers, which is causing a lot of other issues. This does affect the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise, but I don't think it affects Sonic Movie 4 that much, because that's already been in pre-production, and I believe it started production. And I think they're well on their way to getting this out for that March 2027 deadline. But I don't think it's going to be that simple for future projects. As many of you remember, they announced that they wanted to do a Sonic Movie 5 that was going to be like an Avengers MCU event for the Sonic movie universe. And that requires a lot of things. It requires public interest, it requires money, and it requires the attention of the creatives and the studio. However, with this lawsuit and all these other merger drama going on, it's going to be difficult to see where things land for these future projects. They already have kind of like failed with Paramount Plus, and now something I even didn't mention, but like Paramount would also acquire HBO Max, and they've talked about, or just HBO now, whatever the name of it is now. And they were talking about just like taking that over, and it would just be Paramount Plus, and just like killing that entirely, which is also something I don't like hearing. Anyway, I ranted on. We haven't gotten much Sonic franchise like TV shows, even though I believe they've said they had some that they were working on. But I think this could be really muddy for the future, because if this acquisition doesn't go through, I think Paramount has a lot of money that they have to account for, meaning that they're going to be very selective on their projects. I think Sonic Movie 4 is going to do great. If it's in the trajectory of the other movies, it might even be the best one that they've gotten, especially for box office numbers. And a lot of people are like, why do you care about box office numbers? Why do you care about money? I'm sorry, that's just the reality of the world. Money makes the world go round. Money is how we get these things made, and that's just the reality of it. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessarily right, but that's just how it works. It's a business at the end of the day, and the business makes money, and that includes the Sonic video games as well. So if you are upset by that, I get it, but it's just the way it is, and we have to accept it. Even if the Sonic Movie 4 makes a ton of money, and let's say it makes $1 billion, I don't think it will. I don't think it gets that big. It would be great if it does, but I really don't think it's going to be $1 billion. If it makes a lot of money, there's still going to be so much debt that Paramount has to account for that the production costs for the future Sonic Movie 5 is probably going to get cut, which means that they're going to have to be really careful about what they do there. In addition, if they do, there's two things that can happen here, right? Either Paramount acquires Warner Brothers and keeps chugging along, but they're going to have so much debt because they're also, when you merge companies together, you also take on the debt of the other company, so that's going to be added on top of all this other financial stuff that's happening. But even if they don't, they're going to be losing money and hemorrhaging money. So it's going to be a budget issue in which they're going to have to cut costs wherever they can, which could even be to the production of Sonic Movie 5, if they even decide to make it. I think they will if the Sonic Movie 4 is successful, but that's just something to be aware of. But I think a big issue that people aren't talking about or thinking about is the actors and the WGA. Remember, they're concerned about this being a Monsulli and losing jobs, and I mentioned earlier that if Paramount does take over Warner Brothers, thousands of people are losing their jobs. There's going to be overlap, there's going to be creative stuff, and I don't know what that's going to do to the entertainment industry. I think there's going to be a lot of boycotts, I think there's going to be a lot of strikes, which already almost devastated Hollywood earlier. I believe it was like last year or the year before when you had the writer's strike and then you had the actor's strike. And I think that will happen, and I think that there would be a lot of animosity towards the Paramount / Warner Brothers company, and I know it's a paycheck and I know some actors are still going to want to get paid, but I don't know if like Jim Carrey would come back. I don't know if he would support that environment, and he's a staple of these movies and of these franchises. Now, by the 5th one, if he's still there, like, yeah, they could find a new actor, a new villain to do something, but I really do think that other actors would probably stand up against this, including like Ben Schwartz, who's the voice of Sonic. This is all speculation. I'm not quite sure. I don't know these people from Adam. I do not know them at all. I have no personal relationship. I don't know their motives, their incentives, their leanings on any of this, but I definitely think that this is a high possibility, regardless of Paramount taking over Warner Brothers or not. And it's just really sad to see, because I want to see the Sonic movie franchise succeed and go and make tons and tons of more movies. I'm talking 3 trilogies, so 9 movies, and having these big tentpole events and being like its own MCU. And I think it's building up to that. I think we're getting very close to having something similar to that, but there needs to be support from the studio, from the executives of Paramount, and they need to be focusing on their IP that they currently have, not focusing so much on acquiring the Warner Brothers IP. And I think they're missing the mark. I have complete faith in the people that are working, and the team that are working on Sonic Movie 4 right now. They are the ones that are the lifeblood of this. They're passionate people, but I am worried about their jobs in the future, and I am worried about if they're going to want to stay once all this is over, and if there's pay cuts and stuff like that. But I want to know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. What do you think about this Paramount Warner Brothers acquisition and deal? And what do you think it means for the future of the Sonic movie franchise? I would love to know your thoughts down below. And if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. Your time and support means so much to me. And I hope you have a super Sonic rest of your day. See ya.